if you haven't got the books yet, please go see them and buy them. They are amazing. You want to know about Paul post-Beatles? Boy, you're going to know. It's exhaustive, it's wonderful, it's fascinating, it's a good read. So, Alan, you want to add anything to what Adrian has said? Please?
Well, basically, you know, we just felt that Paul's career with the Beatles has been quite well covered and will continue to be quite well covered, but his solo career has been less well covered. I mean, there are a lot of biographies, but actually most of those are full life biographies that are about as thick as this. So we felt that we should look in sort of granular detail, if possible, and so far it's been possible, at all of his recordings, all of his songs, everything he was up to. If he goes on vacation, we're following him. Because when he goes on vacation, he's writing songs. Yeah. When he does anything, he's writing songs. So we've sort of written in as much detail as we can. We've interviewed recording engineers and people who've worked with him, people who've built studios for him, really all kinds of people who've played with him and recorded with him. And we've really gone into as much detail as we can, which with the first book, in some of the reviewers complained about that detail. And my favorite quote, which is on the back of the second volume from the Mail on Sunday in Britain, was if the devil is in the details, the McCartney legacy is positively satanic. It wasn't meant kindly, but I love it.
But so that's why we love it. That's why, you know, this group of people is who loves it.
With the second book, I think people have sort of realized that that's the point of these books, and so no one's been complaining about the detail, and certainly no one's been complaining about a lack of detail. Yes. So anyway, we'll be talking about the book various places during the weekend. We're talking with the Two Legs guys, Two Legs podcast, about the recording of Venus and Mars, which is part of Volume 2. We'll be on, you know, my own podcast, Things We Said Today. So since I'm part of the podcast, I guess Adrian is our guest. Adrian and I will be on the main stage Sunday afternoon to talk about the book in somewhat more detail. So, and I'm also on the collectors panel. Adrian is on the generations panel. So we'll be around, and we'll be outside in the hall signing them, and
chatting and hanging out.
We'll be everywhere this weekend. Yeah, you'll be sick of seeing us. By the end of the weekend.
Hardly, I don't think so. But yes, definitely. Thank you so much. We're glad you're here. And yes, so we love your positively satanic book. I mean, after all. David and Andrew, tell us, you've got David Bedford, for those of you who don't know, is from Liverpool, and he has written numerous books on the Beatles and about Liverpool, but he's got a new one here that is fascinating. So tell us a little bit about it and where you're going to be this weekend, David.
Okay, nice to be back. Nice to see everybody. This is actually a book that was first discussed in our minds in this very building many years ago, wasn't it, with Andrew Phillips, my good friend here. And we were having a quiet time up in the sales room, and we just started talking about these things. What if Beatles history had changed slightly? And that sort of sent us down a rabbit hole. We said, let's do a book on it. So we're proud now. We've only just laid hands on it this very afternoon. And it's called The Beatles, What If? And I think it's the first time we can claim we have a definitive Beatles book with no definitive answers, which is quite rare. Because the whole point is, this is to start a discussion. And the first what if we have in there is the reason we're here, which is, what if Mark didn't go and speak to John Lennon?
There you go.
We wouldn't have the fest.
Yep.
And all of us in our lives have what if moments.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start thinking, I think, oh yeah, when things could have turned out differently. Yeah. So what we did, we just started brainstorming. What are the key moments in Beatles history where something could have turned out differently? Now, for me, if you know my story, I was signed off work with fibromyalgia back in 2000, so 25 years ago now. If that hadn't have happened, I would never have done all these amazing Beatles things. So it's a turning point in my life. Andrew, tell me your little what if from when you were a little boy.
Well, I mean, we decided we'd put together our what if as a starting point for the book, because, as David said, his story is fascinating. I was the same. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here, I don't think, had certain things not happened in my life. But the important thing why I'm a Beatles fan is because when I was very young, my parents supported it. They managed to get me a ticket to see Beatles live, and
Wow.
you know, so that's really set the scene for me. But I think going back to the book, the important thing about the book, it's not just snippets, it covers the whole Beatles story.
Yeah.
And it's not what happens if, you know, it all changes, it's what if small changes,
Yeah.
will they have huge effects, small effects, no effect, or even a more positive effect?
I think that everybody, just as a comment on that, I think every one of us who comes to these fests, right, every Beatles fan who's like us, has wondered, what if these four guys weren't born in the same place? What if they didn't meet each other at school? What if they didn't, you know, what if they did, but they didn't get signed to a record company? What if Brian Epstein had never come to see? There's a whole list of what ifs.
And that's exactly the starting point was.
Yeah.
And one of the things we decided was we have to start at the point where John, Paul and George are together, because there are so, you could go into hundreds just for them getting together. But, you know, key moments about what if they don't go to Hamburg? What would have happened?
Yeah.
What if Brian doesn't become their manager?
Yeah.
What if Decca actually signed them
Yeah.
and not Parlophone? And so we've got 70 key scenarios where we give like a bit of context for the event. Then we say, okay, what possibly could have happened? And as Andrew was saying, we come up with 4 outcomes, and we give our considered opinion of this is what we think would happen. But the whole point is, feel free to disagree. We have no problem with that at all. The whole point is to come up and have a discussion. We've got a little question sheet up there, and we put 4 scenarios, and you actually get to vote on them, see what you think. If you do well, you'll get a sticker. If you do badly, you'll get a sticker.
There's prizes for
anybody
everyone.
knows who's seen me doing any of my talks, if you want to know what's in it, what do you have to do?
Buy the book.
Buy the book, exactly right. So we're up on the 9th floor, and not in the programme, but tomorrow at 12 noon in the video room, Andrew and I are doing our presentation on the Beatles' What If at 12 noon. So come in there and feel free to disagree.
And then just because I need to say this, tomorrow at 5:45, David and I are co-authors on a book called The Beatles' Fab Four Cities, which we have copies of to sell. I have brought some with me. We're going to be talking on the phenomenon of Beatles tourism. In fact, we have a very small world story to tell in which somebody that I was friends with and recently reconnected with ended up having a tour in Liverpool with David. It's just, and she didn't know that I knew him. So we've got stories. That's a what if too. Oh my goodness.
See that everybody has a number of what ifs in their life.
Yeah.
What if you never discovered the Beatles?
Exactly.
Imagine that big one.
My life wouldn't be the same. Then I know all of us could say the same thing. So we've got a very few minutes, and I've got a couple of other authors who are going to come up. So Robin, tell us a little bit about your project, and then I'm going to introduce 2 more people, Bruce Spicer and Jude Sutherland Kessler, and they're going to tell us a little bit about their books and where they're going to be. But go ahead, Robin.
Thanks, Susan. I don't have a book. So we're making a movie. So that's kind of cool. I'm a feature film director and screenwriter, and I've been engulfed with Beatles stuff for 30 years, of course. I mean, not including fandom, which goes back 30 more years. I just really took in when I did a John Lennon documentary in the early 90s, I really brought, started to see things that I think are underserved. That is, back in the day, before Brian Epstein, there's, Alan Williams and Samuel Leach were going back and forth and just doing incredible things against the Teddy Boy gangs and all the Love is War and all this stuff. So I've investigated that with some historians over the years, and so we have a feature film about that time. It's got a star A-list cast. Please come see me tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the video room. I'm going to go through a little bit, and I also have a table in the 9th floor. And if there's we also, well, I want you to sign up so you can see about it so you're an early informant of the movie coming out. Sorry, I'm trying to rush. I also have a movie, I'm working with Three Dog Night on a movie called Joy to the World that's set in 1969. So thank you.
Thank you, Robin. So we've got two more people real fast who came in here just because they've been upstairs dealing with stuff and they've been on the stage many, many times. I want to welcome Jude Sutherland Kessler and I want to welcome Bruce Spicer. And they can tell us a little bit about where they're... You guys know Jude and Bruce. If you don't know them by now, you haven't been... Well, all right, if you knew you don't know them, you'll know them before the end of the weekend. But if you've been here for many years, you know them very well. Dear friends of mine, dear friends of all of us. So we're going to get microphones to them. Jude, tell us a little bit about what's going on and where you're going to be this weekend, and Bruce will do the same, and then we're going to wrap it up, and the rest of the special guests will be here in about 5 minutes or so.
Well, we had very bad news about 3 weeks ago. We got the new book, volume 5.2. This is the second half of 1965. This is begins when the Beatles do Shea Stadium and goes through the end of 1965. And it was supposed to be released tomorrow morning at 10:30 here with a big book release party, and the books came in and they were horrible. The photos were unseeable, even though we did 9 proofs, including a hard proof. And so we've been negotiating with the printer for the last 3 weeks to try to get a book that you guys can see the photos in, and we found out an hour ago they're going to reprint them again.
Yay!
So
This is good news.
Thank goodness. But it is Some Forever, and it includes Shea Stadium, the writing and recording, and for Alan and Adrian, oh my goodness, the writing and recording of Rubber Soul nearly killed me. I said to my husband, I have one more day in studio, and he said, is that one Beatle day or one human day? And I said, it's one Beatle day, and he said, oh no, another 2 weeks of you griping. But I am not a Beatles music expert, and when they would say run it through a series of faders, I was like, what are they talking about? And so I had to do so much research, but it is a good portion of the book is the writing and recording of Rubber Soul, the MBE, the making of the TV special, the music of Lennon and McCartney, and the very last Homeland tour, which was so special because they were with their dear friends Merseyside. And I got to talk to PJ Proby, and I got to talk to Beryl Marsden, and it was just a wonderful experience. So Chicago Fest, we will have the book release party there tomorrow morning at 11:15. I guess this stage, we will be doing the perilous, and I mean it was perilous, 1965 North American tour, where at the Cow Palace they were throwing folding chairs at the Beatles and other really shocking...
Jelly beans is one thing, but folding chairs is ridiculous.
Yeah, and they had to get them off the plane in Houston in a high-lift catering cart, and the fans were throwing shoes and Ronson lighters, and it was... That tour was a little bit scary, so come and we'll relive it tomorrow.
And we also have, just because Kit was talking about it before, on Saturday evening, the last thing in the main paperback writer discussion room, we're doing a panel called John Lennon, Sinner or Saint. We did this program in Chicago when it was a big hit, and the reason it's the last thing in the room is because if we go long, nobody will care, because we went long in Chicago. And we're going to be discussing the perception of John Lennon over the decades. And Jude will set the stage with historiography and how historiography sometimes blends into hagiography. So come and check that out as well. Thank you, Jude. We're glad you could come be on the stage and tell us a little bit about it. I'm sorry about the book. I was looking forward to emceeing that book launch, so... We'll make it happen in Chicago, but come see Jude, and she'll tell you all about her John Lennon series and about the new book, and she will take pre-orders now, so it's good.
Yes.
Okay, and last but very much not least, Bruce. Bruce Spicer, you're a legend. Bruce! So tell us a little bit about your new book, and then we will hand this over.
Right, the new book is The Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, and More. And what do you mean by and more? Well, it was a very busy year for them, and the way the things were released, the book also had to figure out a way to get in the Beatles' second album and something new and all that other good stuff. And this is the 8th book in the Beatles album series. And the final book will be available here next year called Beatles for Sale to Help. And that's going to the printer on Tuesday, the same printer that Jude used, but, you know, I'm confident they're going to get it right the first time. And that book should be available at the Fest. David Bedford's book, I was very honored when David asked me if I would do the foreword to his book, Truth in Advertising. I read the bloody manuscript before I wrote the foreword. I actually did read the book.
Excellent.
And I really enjoyed it and all, and it makes your mind think about it. And in my book, The Beatles Are Coming, I had actually done a what if. If you're any Marvel fans out there, that section was introduced by The Watcher. And it's really cool. So if you don't own the book, The Beatles Are Coming, shame on you. I do have some copies up there in hardcover for $20, just missing the title page. The most important thing, of course, is schedules, to pronounce correctly for the UK. And that is, I'm going to be doing a couple of things at the Fest in addition to selling books, which, by the way, you should buy because they're heavy. If you don't buy them, I will get a hernia bringing them back to New Orleans. You will feel guilty. You will send me flowers. The flowers cost more than the book, so buy the bloody book.
Boy, you give better guilt than I do.
That's right.
You're good.
I'm good. So anyway, tonight at 8 o'clock in the video room, Karen Duhai, PhD, and Bruce Spicer, JD, MBA, will be giving a talk on George Harrison's classic hit, My Sweet Lord. And we're saying this is going to be music, linguistics, and the law, and we're calling it Lifting from the Material World, My Sweet Lord, He's So Fine, or by chanting the name of the Lord, you'll be sued. So we hope you will enjoy that. And
that will be in the video room.
That's in the video room at 8 o'clock till about 9:05 maybe. And then...
not 9:09.
Not
Sorry,
9:09.
I'm being bad.
Not one after 9:09. 9:05. And then tomorrow at 4:45 in the paperback writer room, because no room will let me be there twice, Tom Frangione will be interviewing me or just discussing with me this book and also the new book, which Tom has proofed as he did this book. So we'll be talking about the Hard Day's Night and the Help book. And finally, in this very place, at this very spot, because that's where the 2 marks are, I will be giving a presentation on a Hard Day's Night, an AV presentation at around 12:30 or 12:35, whenever Mark and Tom stop talking. Actually, I might be giving the presentation here because I like to be able to, people can see the screen rather than where those marks are here. So it's very important in the spirit of the Ruddles for me to explain where I'll be.
If you are a fan of the B-sides, the songs that maybe weren't big hits, this is the book for you. Because I talk about how the songs were written, how they were recorded, and why they matter just as much as the big hits that we all know and love. So I will be signing these on the 9th floor. There's a market. We're right outside the marketplace. A bunch of us are. We have tables set up, and so so come on by, and there's a free matching tote with every purchase. So you'll even have a snazzy bag to store all your goodies that you're going to get this weekend. As far as where I'll be tomorrow at 2:30, I will be in the Tell Me What You See room. I'm going to be part of a live Talk More Talk video cast / podcast. If any of you have seen our show, we're going to be talking about the best and maybe not so great career moves that the Beatles made in the 1970s as solo artists. And beyond 70s, I should say. So come on, be a part of it, and you can let us know what your picks are. And then I am in the paperback writer room at 8:45, right? And I'll let Susan later describe what that is, but it's a panel on John Lennon that I think will be very interesting. Sunday, I will be back in the Tell Me What You See room at 3 o'clock, the academic panel. We are going to be talking about something important, the future of Beatles fandom, how to get more, younger people involved. So we'll be with Ken Womack, Andy Nichols, Karen Duhai. It's going to be a great, great panel. And finally, At 5:30, I'm going to be part of an intergenerational panel where we're going to have people from all different age groups there, and so I'm holding it down for Gen X, and it'll be a lot of fun. So you'll see me around this weekend.
Excellent. Thank you, Kit. We're glad to have you back. Madeline, tell us a little bit about your book and the things you're doing this weekend.
Okay, so is this good?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my biography on Yoko Ono.
You got to talk right into the mic. I'm sorry. But
My
they're
biography
directional. No,
on-
they're directional. It's obnoxious.
Okay, my biography on Yoko Ono, and of course, you know, she's been vilified, and I could go on and on about that, but I'd really just like to read a couple of reviews of my book,
Please.
instead. So, Elliot Mintz, John and Yoko's close friend, this book is a masterpiece. It's mandatory reading for anyone seeking insight into a woman like no other. Sean Ono Lennon says, "We love your book. It's beautiful. Thank you for caring enough to be so meticulous." Spill Magazine, Toronto, "The Bible on Ono. The quotes from Yoko are well documented and read like poetry. Bokhara has explored Ono not only as an artist, but as a human." And from Goldmine, "The most well-rounded look at the couple's creative life than you'll find in any biography of Lennon or Ono." And Dan Richter, last but not least, close friend and assistant from 1968 to 1973, close friend of Yoko and John. Beautiful. It captures Yoko's spirit and vision. It tells her story so well, it's very important that someone does. Yoko is always misunderstood and misrepresented. She is a special person and artist. The world needs the record created here. I am amazed at the details and how well it is written. It's wonderful to see Yoko and her art celebrated. So, if you need to know more, read the book. 550 pages, a fascinating life, 92 years, 13 years with John Lennon, 33 years before him, 40 years without him. So it's fascinating. Please read her story.
And Madeline is going to be speaking tonight in the Tell Me What You See room at 7 o'clock. She's going to be doing a discussion about her book. And you've got a couple of special panels going on in the video room with Deco about Fluxus.
Right, we're doing a Fluxus panel at 2 o'clock tomorrow, all about Fluxus art, and I'm doing the Yoko section on that.
Excellent. Thank you, Madeline. We're glad you're here. Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Lori Kay. Good to meet you all. And I wrote you all my memoir, Confessions of a Rock and Roll Name Dropper, my life leading up to John Lennon's last interview, which I conducted for RKO Radio with my RKO team on December 8th, 1980, mere hours before he was tragically shot and killed. So I look at it now still as both the best and the worst day of my life for the events that happened that day. I've still been filled with guilt because I was accosted by the jerk who turned out to be his killer, and I should have reported him to the Dakota security team or called the police or something, but I didn't, and I didn't realize that he was carrying a gun in the pocket.
Nobody could have known that, Lori. Nobody could have known
Horrifying.
that.
But anyway, I wrote all about it in my book, and I would love to talk to you about it personally and sign it for you and have you see all the great comments I got on the back from all of the other interviews I've done. Everybody from, of course, all the former Fab Four. I interviewed Paul McCartney with Linda and their latest lineup of Wings back in 1979, and the late, great Denny Lane. So sad he's gone. And George Harrison, I was thrilled to interview, and their producer, George Martin, who was wonderful after he did his biography, All You Need Is Ears, and he had heard the RKO radio special that I wrote, The Beatles from Liverpool to Legend, and he was so complimentary about it, and that's also in my book. And the comments on the back of my book are from everyone from Chris France from the Talking Heads, who I interviewed and read my book and was thrilled with it, and a bunch of others. So I really hope to see you upstairs. I'm at a table, actually right near Madeline's table, up on the 9th floor, and I got plenty of books, and I'll be thrilled to give you bookmarks and book cards, and I have magnetic book covers too for you. And so hope to see you up there. Yep. And then Sunday, I'm doing my book discussion at 3:30 p.m.
In the Paperback Writer Room.
Yes, in the Paperback Writer Room.
And I know sometimes we have some things running concurrently, so you may have to make some difficult choices. But, you know, we have so many people with so many wonderful books and so many podcasters and so many wonderful things happening. We have to run things concurrently. So look at your program and make some decisions. Thank you, Lori, very much.
Sure, and I just would like to say also that most people say after reading my book that they love to keep reading it. They don't like to put it down. They just like to keep going from page to page and finish it.
I have to say, all the authors here, I have read the books, and they are all fantastic. So you need to come see our authors and see the books that they have and get them signed for you and everything. Thank you again, Lori.
Thank you.
Terry,
hello.
you're
Susan.
back.
I'm back.
Yes, we're glad to have you back.
Well, glad to be back.
And you have a new book.
I do.
Tell us.
A few years ago, some of you remember I had the NIMS book with all the wild and wacky memorabilia stuff in the United States, which is just great. I must gravitate towards that for some reason. Well, while I was researching that book, and I'm out in the Library of Congress looking at, like, did any of those items or toys or games or something, did they have copyrights and everything? As I was looking through this, I kept running into all these notations about copyrights about Beatle things that I had no idea what they were talking about. So I kept thinking, when I'm done with this book, I'll go look at the copyrights and see if I can do a book about that. So I started finding all these copyrights that people would write a poem in 1964 and go get it copyrighted thinking they're going to make money. Or they'll draw a picture. Or they will sing a Beatles novelty record and I'll make $1 million off of it, so I'll go get it copyrighted. So I kept going through all the copyrights in the U.S. from 64, 65, and 66. And I'm thinking, all right, I'll find 200 or 300 and I'll do a nice little book out of it. Well, 900 copyrights later, I'm so glad I couldn't find any more. So the book that I thought was going to be like a 1-volume, here's all the copyrights from 64 to 66 that have something to do with the Beatles, is a 3-volume set and 400 plus pages each. So come find me upstairs and we'll talk about it. That world is unbelievable.
It's the tome, not just the book, the tome.
It's unbelievable. And if you want to see things wild and wacky, tonight at 9 o'clock, I'm doing a presentation. It's not in the main brochure, but it's right across the hallway
in
here.
The video room.
Video room at 9 o'clock about Beatle novelty records. And if you think you know things about that, wait till you hear some of the people who were actually on these records that went on to do other things. It's pretty cool.
Thank you, Terry. And do check out the video presentation if you have the time to do so. Deirdre, I feel like I just saw you.
Yes, Susan and I we had the great privilege and honor, I'd say, of being invited to the inaugural Kinsale, Ireland Beatles Fest. So we got to have a lot of stew and
and hang out for the weekend. It was
wonderful
fun.
times together.
Yeah. And you got to talk about your book.
Here I am again. I say it that way jokingly because really this is my first time at the iconic Jersey City Fest. I was a fest virgin a year ago. My first fest was TWA Hotel for the 50th. My book, Fashioning the Beatles, The Looks That Shook the World, was just then fresh out of the presses. And then I did go to Chicago, and I'm just so honored to be here, and thank you very much. Susan and I, we were talking, and I know I should be talking about my book, but because of my book, I've joined this illustrious group of all of you. I can say the Beatles we were talking about, that we're not just fans, we're a community.
Yes.
And maybe that would go even further. One would say maybe it's a special type of family.
Yep.
So thank you very much for bringing me into the fold.
We're glad
And
you're
I'm
here.
doing it with this book, Fashioning the Beatles. It is the first book ever, if you can believe it, to deep dive into the Beatles' clothing choices, how they basically formed a brand, if not band identity, went on to define an era, if not a generation, and continue to influence fashion designers, runway collections, streetwear brands to the present day. For instance, I'm wearing something that just came out in November right here in New York City, or close by in New York City, by a New York brand, Alice and Olivia. But that's not the only fashion brand that is still digging deep into the Beatles' closet for inspiration. Yep. And it's everything from, we know, all of you are fans, we know, from the black leather look that's on the runways at Yves Saint Laurent, Dior Homme, the paisley and psychedelic looks of the Beatles, that's Roberto Cavalli in Italy. There was a White Album inspired collection by Kenzo in Paris, menswear, last year. Anyway, I do document that in the final chapter, just to say that this is a cultural history, but it isn't in the past. It is still very pertinent and relevant, and I'd love to tell you more about it if you come visit me on Cloud 9, where we all are huddled, other than the celebrity hub that I'm seeing through the door there. But the rest of us are up there, and we're happy to meet you, happy to sell books, sign books, and give you a wonderful time.
And Deirdre is going to be doing a panel tomorrow in the Tell Me What You See room at 1:30. Right. She's going to be joined by Gary Astridge, who is Ringo's drum curator. He's outside. And he wrote a book all about Ringo's clothing, Ringo's fashion.
Yes, so we're going to do a collaborative talk tomorrow, 1:30 panel. If you're here, I would love to see you join us.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. You did one like that last year, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. Yeah,
thank
so cool.
you.
All right, thank you, Deirdre. We're glad you're here.
The Beatles.
Awesome. Susan, you are already a veteran of these things. You've been coming to the fest for a long time already, and I'm glad, because we love having you here.
I'm glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your books and what you're doing this weekend.
I've got this book, The Inner Light, How India Influenced the Beatles. It's told through the songs. Each chapter is a song. There's 170 very rare photos in this, and 130 QR codes that point to really fascinating content, like videos and lyrics and audios and things like that. And I joined the Fat Book Club. This has 512 pages in it, like many of these books up here that have over 500 pages. And you're not going to find this information anywhere else. You just are not. I did a lot of research, finding the musicians that were with the Beatles, that played with the Beatles, the musical instruments, the lyrics, how the lyrics were influenced by India. And you'd be amazed at the real, live, true meanings of these lyrics, because I spent 2 decades with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the guru of the Beatles, and I was on his personal staff, Maharishi's personal staff, for 6 years. So because of my background, it's like I've got the inner it's like the inside story is there. What really happened in India, which by the way, tonight I'm doing a video multimedia presentation in the video room, and it's entitled What Really Happened in India. And you would be really surprised, because you think you know what happened, but you might not if you haven't read my books. My other book is a memoir, Maharishi and Me, Seeking Enlightenment with the Beatles Guru, because I spent all that time with him. And so this book, I wrote this book first, and there were a couple chapters in it about the Beatles, but I really wanted to tell the whole story about the Beatles. That's the reason why I did this, The Inner Light book. So tomorrow, Paul Saltzman's coming. If you know who he is the man who did all the really famous photographs of Maharishi with the Beatles. So I'm going to be doing a presentation tomorrow in the Magical Mystery Floor, I think it's called.
The first floor, yeah.
First floor. I'll be doing a presentation with Paul and taking questions and answers and that sort of thing. So come and visit tonight at 10 o'clock in the video room. It's not on your program.
Yeah, we had a few errors on the. I'm sorry about that, but we did. But but that's why you're here telling us about it, so that's good.
So 10 o'clock tonight, what really happened in India. And then tomorrow with Paul Saltzman, we'll be talking about what it was like in Rishikesh,
And
India.
Susan is up on the 9th floor as well, and we'll be happy
On
to
the
talk
9th
to you and
floor.
sign her books, and they're wonderful books, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We're glad you're here. Alan and Adrian, I'm going to introduce you both at the same time because you're co-authors. Adrian, you were at the New York Fest last year.
I was, yeah.
And Alan, you've been to fests forever, but that wasn't the first time you'd ever been to a fest, Adrian, was it?
Yeah, it was my first fest.
Oh my gosh.
I too was a fest virgin last year.
Well, now you're not, so you've been here a while, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you came all the way from the UK, and we're glad that Alan came all the way from Maine, so we're glad you're here.
It's an absolute pleasure.
And tell us a little bit about your fantastic. You've only got 2 volumes. How long is this thing going to go?
So, well, so far we've written 2 volumes of the McCartney legacy. And the first volume covers the years 1969 to 1973. And this is the second volume that came out at the end of last year, which covers 1974 to 1980. And we actually met with our book editor this afternoon, and we can exclusively reveal for the very first time that book 3 is
doing it.
So,
and with that, I'm going to turn it back to our wonderful host, Susan.
Well, thank you. So we have to. I wish there was time for questions. There's not, because we have to vacate this stage to bring on more special guests who are going to tell you about, these are the musical guests and other guests who are going to tell you more about what they're going to be doing this weekend. But what I will say to you right now is that we are the Beatles community. And I started using that word during the pandemic because we were online and we were a community. And I used to just be like, groups of Beatles fans, or we're Beatles fans. No, we're a community. We're a lot more than just fans. We are a community, and we support each other, and we love each other, and we take care of each other, and that's you guys, that's us, that's everything. So if you come and you check out everybody's books, nobody up here, and that includes me, nobody up here is doing this because they think they're going to get rich from it. They're doing it because they love it. And so come and talk to these authors, buy their books if you don't have them already. They'll be happy to schmooze with you, they'll be happy to sign books for you, and you come to the presentations and learn something, because you can learn a lot. And just remember, if you're here for the first time, you're going to discover what an amazing community this is. And if you are here for many, many times, you will learn how amazing this community is and how well we support each other. And I want to thank all of you for being here at the fest this weekend. Come check everybody out. And I'm going to turn the stage over in about 2 minutes. So thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Susan. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to our authors. And we will see you guys in a little bit. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay.
Susan.